Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Dimensional Wellness. This is DeeDee. And today we're going to go ahead and get started talking about Bart. And I'm guessing this is like Bart Simpson. I'm using some discretion. A lot of discretion. I'm using some discretion on these like more celebrity or people that we might know as public figure dreams, because I've come to find out that sometimes these dreams are talking about things that are actually going on in real life, that they are not symbolic. And so I'm going to leave some discretion, okay? And so when I do that, I like to ask, just my guides or whoever, and sometimes I feel like it's actually the spirit around, to be like, what name would you like me to use? So I guess maybe in case like their family or friends or, with the world, you just never know, especially the internet, we're all a lot closer than it seems like. But, especially with the internet and everything, that maybe someone that knows them, they might send them some type of message through this other name so that they know who it actually is. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I'm just going with it. That's what I saw like in my head, and so I'm assuming that that's what it is. So this person wants to be called Bart. So I guess like Bart Simpson. Okay, hold on, because, it's 12:48. That's 12 times 4, and there's a lot going on with 4. Actually, I was just this morning thinking about the letter D, right? Because my name is DeeDee, and I read something the other day that was like the D is half of a circle. And so I was like, oh, okay, DeeDee is a full circle. And that makes sense because there's this guy I listen to on YouTube named his name is Logan. And he does decode reality through Chaldean numerology. And through Chaldean numerology, one of the names that I use is 36 or 63. And then he does something with like, so many numbers after pi or the golden ratio, one of them. And my birthday was the 360th number, either after prime or after the golden ratio, which was a 0. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. It's a complete circle. So DeeDee is a complete circle, which the 4 in the 4 is 8, double cube. And then they're like, yeah, and what do 2 4s make? And so I was thinking about writing a 4 in my head, and I was like, oh, if you put the 2 4s together, they make a trident. And I often have visualizations where I have a trident. I'm like sitting on this like really cool throne situation. I usually have this emerald jewel on my head. It's usually surrounded by gold. It looks like, those really fancy older mirrors with the really thick gold plated paint on it, and they're very elaborate kind of mirrors. It looks like that with like a big old emerald on it. And then I usually have a trident. Then sometimes I have like an emerald scarab kind of staff situation. So that's really fun. Excuse me. Anyways, if you're another DeeDee, hey tribe. Okay, so anyways, back to this. Okay, we're going to talk about Bart today. He is talking about season 13, episode 2 of The Simpsons. Like I thought I saw 4 at first, but I don't know if that's just because I'm talking about 4, but I think it's episode 2. Okay, the parent rap. Wait, I'm sorry if that was in your ear, but this celebrity is a rapper. That is so funny. Oh my gosh. Okay, Bart and Homer are tethered together by a strict judge after Bart and Milhouse are accused of stealing Chief Wagum's police car. The parent rap. That is so crazy because he is a rapper. You better shut your mouth. Oh, another George. George Meyer. Interesting. Another George. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go to episode 4 because I heard go to episode 4 too. I'm going to go to episode 4. I might go watch this when I get home too. Hold on. Let's see what episode 4 is of The Simpsons. A hunka burns in love. Okay, so Homer is hired to write the blurbs found inside Chinese fortune cookies, and one of his cookies leads to love for Mr. Burns. Guest voice of Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Okay. Burns falls in love with a younger woman and recruits Homer to help him impress her. Mr. Burns falls in love with a younger woman and recruits Homer to help him. Oh, did I read that correctly? I don't know if I read that correctly. Okay, so I might watch both of those when I get some time. When I get some time. So anyways, he wants to be called Bart, and I'm assuming like Bart Simpson. Okay. So these dreams were very, very interesting, and I am not exactly sure if I should talk about all of them. I'm going to talk about at least 2, and then when I talk about those 2, I'll see if I want to talk about the third one, because the third one is connected into something that I don't know what that's even talking about yet, and I like to wait to talk about certain things until I have like some type of grasp on what it's talking about. But since I'm doing this and the channel is really young, like we have shout out to the 7 subscribers, which probably like 2 or 3 of them are like me and Ray and like another account that I have, and then have a friend. And so anyways, it might be fine while it's still like, I don't know, whatever. Okay, we'll talk about it. Okay, so this person who, since he does want to say that he is a rapper, this person passed away, and his death was a lot like Mortimer's death. So I talk about another celebrity who passed away, and I call him Mortimer. Now, when I was trying to talk about Mortimer, I was trying to talk about Bart. See, that's what I'm saying. I was trying to talk about Bart, and I ended up talking about Mortimer instead. Now, Mortimer wanted to be called Mickey Mouse, but I decided to give him the title of Mortimer instead. And I actually thought that that was because, like, Mortimer was the original Mickey Mouse, but I actually found that they were actually arguing over a woman. Now, I don't know how that plays into Mortimer's life. And I actually wrote something about Mortimer Mouse too. Let me not get too off track. Anyways, but if you knew who Mortimer was, then you would know that his energy is very like that. He is very competitive and stuff like that. And so he just took over the whole situation. So anyways, now we're getting to Bart. And I am not exactly sure exactly why I'm talking about this right now. Like, today is the 8th. It's November 8th. I'm not exactly sure why Bart is coming through today. Oh, well, there you go. But for a reason. That's what I was about to say. It must be for a reason, though. And it's interesting because also this is connected into Harley Quinn. Now, there is a person that I actually call Harley Quinn as well. And that could be taken as 15, but it's like Harley Quinn 1S or 1. It could be a 5. I don't know. It could be 15. But anyways, could be connected to Harley Quinn. So anyways, around the time that Bart unfortunately passed from this world, it was very strange, much like Mortimer. It felt like something that didn't belong in this reality. Like that it was almost like a glitch in the Matrix. It was so strange. Oh, look, this car has DWA and then 7 DeeDee. And as I was coming to sit here, I saw 7 God, and then my total was 1771, which my moon scripts, which is again connected to Mortimer's story, all of my moon scripts that I write, I sign them 771. And so I also recently found out that according to Chaldean numerology, my maiden name is connected to the number 117. Now, my married name puts me at a different frequency, which is also very interesting. But 117 or 27, which universal time I would have been born on December 27th. But this time I'm born on December 26th. Okay. So anyways, so around the time that Bart passed away, maybe they're intricately connected to each other. Maybe that's why. Maybe I could see him being like an inspiration, I guess. I don't even know. But maybe they're really intricately connected to each other. I don't know. So anyways, there's so much going on in my head. Let me focus. Okay. So my husband is a huge fan of Bart. Okay, a huge fan of Bart. And I'm not talking about The Simpsons. I'm talking about the celebrity Bart. Okay. And so he was crushed when Bart passed away. Okay. And so I remember that it was like a really, unfortunately with rap deaths, there is very traumatic stuff that usually happens. And so it's a very traumatic death. And I remember that he was just, not obsessively, but really, really like, every 20 minutes trying to get an update on what exactly had happened to Bart, like what was going on. Did they catch the people? Like he was very, very, very intently focused on this. And since, I was not as attached to Bart, I could look at it from like a third party kind of perspective. And so I remember that day I was like, look, we need to put the phones down. We need to stop because, this is a lot of energy, and it's, since it's such a traumatic energy, we don't want to get too wrapped up into that. Like, let's break away from that way of connecting into Bart's energy. Why don't you focus on him directly? Because my husband wanted to meet Bart one day. He wanted to interact with him. He thought that he was going to be able to talk to him one day. And so I was letting him know, I'm like, well, you can still communicate with him. And in this form, it'd probably be a lot easier to communicate with him, honestly. But I was like, but of course, this is a really traumatic time for everyone, especially the people who are his nuclear family. So I'm like, let's give it some time, for everything to die down, because everyone is so focused on this negative instance. And it was hard to, because it was kind of publicized too, the after effects. And so I was like, let's just put our phones down. Don't try to check on anything. And let's just try to send him some positive energy. Right? So that was my theme. So I ended up going to sleep that night. And I remember as I was laying my head down, I remember that it was such an uncomfortable feeling in the house. And I felt like something was coming in the house. It was very, very strange. So as I went to sleep that night, I literally was in like the astral version of our house. So I could have been astral projecting, but it didn't feel like a full astral projection. But I do remember sitting up, and I remember seeing my body. But I have astral projected like twice, I would say. A full astral projection, like completely astral projection once, but I've come close to that. But so this was not quite that, but I did sit up out of my body. And when I sat up out of my body, I was sitting up because there was something in the house. So this is in the quote unquote dream or astrals or whatever. I sat up immediately out of my body because I knew that there was something in the house and I needed to see what it was. And so as I was sitting up, I turned around and I didn't see my body, but I was still sitting in my body though. And I was looking at the hallway. So at this point, we were like in a duplex, and I was in like the front room in the duplex, and my husband was in the back room in the duplex. So I was going to get up, but I could actually just see the kids. So I was in the front room, the kids are in the middle room, and then me and my husband was in the back room. And that day I just decided to sleep in the front because I knew that he was still like checking in on everything. So I was like, ooh, let me just sleep in the front, okay? And so anyways, I could actually see through the walls, and I could see him laying down. And when he was laying down, I kid you not, there was some weird, I don't know what this thing was. There is no way that I could possibly describe it. It was semi-human, but it was moving like an insect. And it was very, very creepy. And it was almost like feeding off of the negative energy that he had absorbed throughout that day. And so when it realized that I could see it, because I made eye contact with it, when it realized that I could see it, it started heading towards me. And immediately there was like this gust of something, some type of wind or something like that. And then I was like told to lay back down. So I laid back down, and there was a dream. I kid you not, this was so wild. There was a dream catcher by the head of my bed when I laid back down. Someone, one of my guides, one of my ancestors, someone had put this huge, intricate, sacred geometry dream catcher, and it caught the thing, and the thing went away. And it was a very elaborate, but it looked more like sacred geometry, like especially more of like the Hindu kind of like, what do they call it? Flower of life. It was similar to that, not exactly, but it also looked like traditional Native American dream catchers. Very intricate, very beautiful, and it was actually made with feathers in it too. So most of the designs were actually feathers. And so it caught it. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, thank goodness, because I didn't know what I was about to do. I'm like, I'm going to have to fight this thing. And I don't know what this thing is. But the dream catcher caught it. And so I was like, oh, snap. So then that next day I woke up and I was like, no, put the phone down. Like, stop. And so my husband and I, we went to go sit on our porch. We had a porch at this time. And a little swing and stuff. So we went to go sit on the porch in the swing and to talk about it, you know, talk about how he was feeling, you know, and what we thought the family was going through, especially since, like I said, part of it was on social media. So, you know, the family would be seeing all that and everything, and I just couldn't even imagine. So as we were talking about it, I was thinking like, you know, it would probably even be better than to have a funeral. We probably should just think about seeing him in an arena and seeing him dressed in white, sitting on a throne, you know, and imagining him in a different place, imagining him in a different situation. So not a funeral and people crying and, you know, all of these things, but instead we should picture him, you know, as kind of like a white, pure, like sending away party. And I started really thinking about it in my head, like we could do it in LA and it'd be in the Staples Center and all these people, we could think about them, you know, singing some of his songs, which most of them would not be appropriate for a multitude of people, but you know, what we could talk about, you know what I'm saying, in a white, you know, suit, and him being alive and, you know, being remembered and, you know, in a sense, giving him his flowers in that type of way. So Ray and I were really thinking about it. We're really getting into the visualization of it and everything, right? So later on that night, I kid you not, I was in a dream and I was in some bleachers in a stadium. I kid you not. I was in these bleachers in a stadium and I was talking to a family member. And we were like talking and stuff like that, but I assumed that we were there for a game. That's what I assumed. So I didn't think that us talking would be that big of a deal until I realized that I felt someone staring at me. And I realized, like, I looked around and I was like, oh, it's quiet in here. And so when I looked around, I immediately faced forward, and that's when I saw Bart, and he was sitting in a throne. And I realized we were in the Staples Center, and it was like a exactly what I described, like a going away white celebration for him. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So I'm like happy. I'm like, yes, this is much better energy than, you know, the other stuff that's going on, right? So then I started feeling like somebody was still staring at me. And so I was like, well, why are they staring at me? Because I'm quiet. So then I realized that the stares were coming from behind me. And so I turned around. Now, when I turned around, I saw these guys, like this whole group of people actually, that I feel like probably all of them live in Sedona. I don't know if they still live in Sedona, but all of them live in Sedona, and there's some type of like, you know, spiritual group or whatever. Now two of them, well, maybe three, one of them I've heard of, but two of them I used to watch, a lot on YouTube, and they're kind of like guardians of Sedona, right? And so they were looking at me like, we need to talk to you. And so I'm like, oh snap, like, was I not supposed to do this? Is he not supposed to get this? Like, I don't know. Like, why would we need to talk? What do we need to talk about? You know? So anyways, I decided that I was going to go run to the bathroom and not communicate with them, because I was like, I'm not here for this today. I was trying to do a good deed, and if that's not what the situation was, like, I'm not about to like have to show up and talk to the council about how they feel like I should not have helped him out, right? So I'm like, So I go run to the bathroom, and long story short, because that's like a whole other situation, long story short, they pretty much did let me know that I need to become more aware of the rules of that dimension and what I can create and what I cannot create, because there are rules to things, and there's a reason why, you know, unfortunately Bart was not able to have this type of celebration. And so I was like, okay. Now there are some other things that were going on, but I just want to talk about that in relation to Bart right now. So the interesting thing is that I kind of felt like, okay, cool. So I guess that's like the whole conversation. Now, I guess I am going to talk about the other dreams. Now, like I said, I'm not sure how these are related to each other, but I'm going to talk about them anyway, because they are coming up. So after that, I saw Bart quite a few times, like maybe 3 or 4 times. And I'm saying quite a few because I don't see every celebrity or politician or everything in my dream. And it's very rarely that I see them more than once. Like I am usually called to so many different places at night that by the time someone is showing up relatively consistent, where I see them like more than twice, I mean, even twice, but more than twice, like in the same 2 weeks or something like that, I'm like, okay, there's something really being spun in reality. That's what I would say, right? So anyways, so I saw Bart probably like 2 or 3 times. And this time, every time I saw him, it was in this control center. Okay, so it was a control center. And it might be the air traffic control center. You know, they have at the LA airport, they have that thing that kind of looks like a UFO on a stick. I think it is called the air traffic control center. Hold on. Los Angeles airport. I don't know if you would call that a tower, because it's not really a tower. Yeah, it is this control tower situation. Okay, wait, which one am I talking about? Okay, so I did see him at the, oh, look, this guy's name is Michael Zara. Interesting. So I did see him, like, if you look up Los Angeles airport thing, they'll show, like, the kind of tall tower situation and then the shorter one. So what I saw was, like, a mashup of these two. So it was like this shorter kind of UFO kind of situation, but it was on top of this control center. So it was a mashup of the two, which is very interesting. And so anyways, I saw him and I was seeing a lot of people going in and out. So we didn't really get to talk the first 2 times. We didn't really get to talk, but I did see him and he kind of like tapped my arm. And so I know that he was saying, you know, like he's got a lot going on. There's a lot of people, a lot of communication, a lot of different things. Now, the last time I saw him in this area, he did say something, but I don't even remember what it is now. But I do know that shortly afterwards, Ray started seeing him in dreams. And so I'm assuming that it probably was like, you know, in some type of way, he's going to be connecting with Ray. So Ray did end up seeing him in dreams after that. Now, the interesting thing is that then eventually I had another dream in this same airport where Ray and I were back in college, and we were talking to these friends. And I'm going to use some discretion with this because it was a very interesting dream. And I remember this specific dream I had on a Pisces full moon. I'm not going to say when because, again, I'm trying to like use some discretion here. But there was a night where I was talking to one of my family members. And I remember it was so weird because we spent like the whole night talking about Marilyn Monroe. And there was actually a Marilyn Monroe painting in the hotel room I was staying in. I kid you not, and it was so weird. And we were talking about her before I realized that her picture was in the room. We were talking about her, and I'll probably talk about that dream another time. But there's also like two huge Buddha statues. Like the Buddha statues were the light. So the lamps were Buddha lamps, which I thought was very interesting. And I was like, I wonder what the Buddha lamps have to do with Marilyn Monroe, though. So anyways, so we're talking about her, and we're talking about JFK. And this family member grew up hearing a lot about JFK assassination, everything like that. So anyways, we were talking the whole night about Marilyn Monroe, and then I was going to sleep, and I remember that my sleep was very, very disturbed. I was like in and out of sleep, and it was like in and out of the sleep realms. So it wasn't even like I was like up and fully awake. I just knew that I was tossing and turning, and sometimes I was seeing different things, and sometimes I remember seeing flashes of those Buddha statues. So I knew that I was like in and out of consciousness. I was like, okay, something is in my room interfering with me being able to sleep. And so I remember getting this feeling of seeing some type of draconian energy. I kid you not. Now, I had a dream a while ago, like in 2017, probably 2018, that I had family that were Dracos. This is before I even really knew too much about starseeds or anything, but I literally had a dream where I was telling Ray, oh yeah, I've got family that's Dracos. So I wasn't unfamiliar to that energy, but I was just wondering why they were showing up, and it was showing up pretty clear. Like I could see the silhouette, and it looked very much like, for some reason I want to say like the Predator, you know, like not Alien, but Predator. It didn't have like the locks and all that kind of stuff, but it was a very big build, you know, black kind of spacesuit situation with chrome embellishments, chrome-like embellishments, I guess, but black and silver, definitely. And I remember just seeing silhouettes, and it was the same being, and I couldn't even place where he was in reality, because I don't even know if I knew where I was in reality. I was just in the in-between realms, I guess. And so anyways, the one dream that I do remember, though, and I'm going to talk about this, and like it's going to sound like I'm leaving stuff out, because I'm purposely leaving stuff out. So anyway, oh, and it's 121, child. Okay. Logan said something really significant about number 121. I can't remember it, but no, it was significant, though. So anyways, in this dream, Ray and I were back in college, okay? So that's the energy that we're in, a college energy. And this was a college energy before I had this quote-unquote awakening experience. Okay, so I knew some things, and You know, I was always pretty perceptive, but I didn't know everything that I know now. And now I know that they're purposely doing that because they're trying to have an interaction with you that you would not probably sign off on or be okay with if you were in your full capacity of operation. So that's some type of like little loophole they have of trying to in some type of way regress you to a state of before you were awake, because in your fully awakened state, and I'm still not fully awakened, but you know what I'm saying, like in this really perceptive place that you are now, you probably would not be open to a certain type of interaction or a certain type of suggestion or something like that. So I always, you know, watch it now. So anyways, so this was like pre-awakening, okay, version of me. And the next thing I know, like I was sitting in this thing that was kind of like a university center. So it's in this tower thing at the LA airport. Okay. It's, and so anyways, it's like the cafeteria kind of energy. And so Ray's like talking to his friends or whatever. And I'm just kind of like thinking about life, you know, usually as I am, contemplating my existence. Contemplating my existence and what's going on in life and things like that. And the next thing I know, I start to see, this was so wild because I thought that I would, well, I wasn't all the way integrated. Oh, look, 975. What does it say? Acosta. And that's CWA. 975911. Interesting. What is Acosta? 450 BB. Okay. Hold on, let me see, because it was just 117 too. Hold on, I feel like that's some type of message. Hold on. Let's see, what is Acosta? I feel like I wrote down Acosta, but I'm not going to go into my notes. But when I go back and do timestamps for all of this stuff, I will definitely link it if it is super important, because I feel like I wrote Acosta down before. There's a guy that plays for a soccer team named Acosta in LA, but let's see, what does Acosta mean? I'm assuming it has to do with coastlines, but that could not be true. Oh, yeah. Okay. So Acosta is a Spanish and Portuguese. Oh, my gosh. It is always the Portuguese. Okay. Like the Portuguese, like it's always like in my dreams. I kid you not. And this could be like my own, you know, male bloodline or something like that. I am always seeing Portuguese and Persian, Arabian, Syrian men. And I feel like the Portuguese thing is just usually not that great of an interaction. It is always Portuguese. And that's so funny because I'm going to talk about what happened. And it's going to be connected to a Black and Persian or Portuguese person. He could be connected to all these nationalities. I don't know. Portuguese. Okay. Originally used to refer to a person who lived by the seashore or was from the mountains. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. English, a coast. Yeah. A coast. De la costa. Costa. Okay. So anyways, so y'all, all of a sudden I'm like minding my business, and the next thing I know, there was a blue beam coming in from the ceiling. Now, as I saw it coming in from the ceiling, I also could kind of see like interdimensionally that it was coming from something in the sky. So it was shooting from something in the sky behind the clouds. I couldn't see the source of it, but it was somewhere up, and the clouds were cloaking wherever this blue beam was coming from. But I could see it, and actually there was like 2 or 3 blue beams going on. But there was one main one that I saw that wasn't too far from my feet. Okay? So I'm looking and like nobody else can see it. So this was like, I was about to say the kitchen. Well, yeah, you know, like, is that what they call it in school? Is that what it's called? The kitchen? What do they call where you get food from? Cafeteria. There we go. I'm like, what is the name for it? The cafeteria. So there's plenty of people, and this is like midday. Like, I knew it was like noon or something. It was 1:21 again. My car clock. Oh, look, 2:17. Look, this says semi 2:17. You better shut up. Anyways, so that's wild. Because the person that I call Harley Quinn is connected to the number 217. And that's a very interesting. Okay, so anyways, blah, 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 whatever. So, look at this homeless guy. I see this homeless guy all the time. Okay, focus, DeeDee, focus. Okay. Let me focus, okay? It's like, in order to focus, you just have to like close your eyes and not see anything. Okay. Anyways, so there's a main blue beam, because there was like 2 other blue beams, but they were like smaller and they weren't as much of the focus. And it was almost like there was the main blue beam that was like shooting by my feet, and then the other 2 were like shooting like in the front of this building we were in, and then one was in the back of the building that we were in. So I don't know if they're representing like guards or something like that, but there was like 3, but there was one big main one, and this is like an electric blue kind of beam, and it literally looked like an energy beam, like a lightsaber without the, you know, plastic or whatever to turn it into a sword, like a beam like that. And so I was like, what? And nobody else in the cafeteria saw it. It was just me that saw it. So I'm like, what? Now, as I'm focusing on this blue beam, there is this young man, and I'm calling him a young man, even though he's probably older than me. But this guy walks into the cafeteria, and I knew that he was connected to this blue beam. Now, I don't know how he was connected to this blue beam. Oh my gosh, wait, I have to say this, because there's this person that I just saw just now, and their name is Chad. Their name is Chad, and it says, "Amen, brother." But if you know about Amun-Ra does have a brother. Amun is also called Amen, and so is in the Dogon tradition. They have the goddess, even though they call her a god sometimes, Amma, which is where we get Momma from, and she is also sometimes called Amunet, the hidden one, the counterpart to Amun, but also Amen. And so it was really funny as I'm talking about this, and it was like, Amen, brother. And Amun does have a brother, which I think is either Toph or Anubis. I can't remember which one. Anyways, so this guy walked in, and I knew he was connected to the blue beam. Now, this version of me that was unawake, I wasn't consciously making these connections, but I was kind of like unconsciously observing these connections. And so he zoomed right to me, and he was like, "Hey, how are you doing? Can I talk to you for a second?" So I'm like, okay, cool. And so I'm looking at Ray, and me and Ray are sitting close to each other, but he has like his back to me, and he's talking to these friends. And I was just sitting there by myself, you know, just observing and blah, 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 right? And so when the guy came in, Ray didn't really like shift or look at him or anything. So I was like, okay, he must be really comfortable with this guy. And I was like, maybe we know him. And it felt like maybe we knew him, but I don't know how we knew him. But I was like, yeah, sure, you can sit down and talk for a second. Cool. So I'm like, you know, sit down and talk, because I'm like, how do I know him and who is he? And it was almost like someone that I had seen before, but I couldn't place how I knew them. And anyways, I knew that he was a biracial person. So I knew that he was, you know, we considered to be like African American, but I don't actually know if he was African American or if he was just African and, you know, a mixture of either Portuguese, or also, and I feel like I made that complicated, or also, and Persian and Portuguese. Okay. Portuguese and Persian and African, or African American, which usually adds in some more European stuff other than Portuguese. But anyways, that's my point. I knew that by looking at him. I could tell, some main places he was connected to. So anyways, we started talking. I'm going to skip over a whole lot of stuff, blah, 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 whatever. And so he ended up helping me to go and find another family member of mine who was having some type of invasion on a military base that she worked on. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's an invasion. He was like, yeah, we need to go over there and handle that right quick. So anyways, we went to go handle this situation. Okay. Now, the interesting thing is that I had seen this blue light before. I had seen this blue light before because I had this dream. And if you're like super Christian, I mean, I'm doubting like people who are super Christian have gotten through this whole thing. But if like you have, I love you. So anyways, I was in this dream where I was walking on water. I kid you not. I was walking on water. And it was at night, and the moon was shining on this water, and it was like this deep ocean color, right? And it looks black in the nighttime, but it was like this very deep blue color, which I'm guessing is related to ancient Lux, not necessarily Luxor, but Lux, Lux. And so I was walking on this water, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, I remember this. And it was some type, I don't know. It was some type of technology or something like that where we could walk on water, okay? I don't know. We could have also just been lizards. I don't know. I don't know. I don't exactly know. Because I know lizards can walk on water. So I was walking on this water, and I didn't actually know why I was on this water, and I don't remember what body of water it was. But I was walking, and I was just feeling pulled to go to, not the center of the water because it was huge, but to go deeper over this ocean. Okay, so this was not a lake. I know it wasn't a lake, and it wasn't a small pond or anything. It had to be an ocean. And so I kept feeling called to get off of the land and go deeper, to walk deeper into the ocean. So not like sinking into it, but, closer out from the land. Okay. So as I was doing that, again, I could see there was clouds. So clouds and blue beams are connected to each other. So I could see that there were these clouds, and again, there was a blue beam coming from this cloud, and that's when I realized that I was supposed to be meeting someone on the water. I kid you not. I was supposed to be meeting someone on the water. So as I get out there, I start to see this guy, and I don't know where he came from, child. I have no clue where he came from, but he was a very interesting looking man. He was a very healthy, husky, lumberjack kind of man. And he had his shirt off, and his chest looked like a Neanderthal chest. I'm not making fun of him. I'm not making fun of him at all. I'm just saying that because his face was like pretty modern looking, I would say. Like he had like this kind of buzz kind of cut, like you see in the military, kind of like a kind of buzz cut situation going on. But his face looked relatively modern. Like he didn't have a whole bunch of hair on it. It looked groomed and things like that. But his chest was not a modern chest. And I don't think, had I not seen this, that I would know what someone was talking about, that he didn't have a modern chest. But this man did not have a modern chest. He had a Neanderthal chest. And do you know who it made me think of? And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to talk about this man. But he reminded me of Skips from Regular Show. That's what it reminded me of. And he even had like the kind of pants kind of sort of like that and everything, and his feet were not, he didn't have shoes on or anything, and he was handing me this blue beam. And I was like, is that one mine? But I don't think he spoke English. But as he was handing it to me, when he handed it to me, like, I touched his hand. And I was like, oh, this is Serapis Bay. This is Serapis Bay. And then that's when I woke up and I looked into Serapis Bay and everything like that. And I know it's very interesting because the Bay situation, I think that's usually connected to, like, Freemasons, right? Like the Morocco kind of Freemason situation. And I could definitely tell you that I do not have any good connections outside of this man handing me this blue beam, which I don't know if it was a positive connection or not. I don't have any good interactions with anything Morocco, Algerian, North African in that way. Egypt, that's a different story. Halls of Amenti, that's a different story. But the Algerian, Moroccan construct, I don't have any good interactions with that. And so when I saw the Bay part of it, because I said Serapis Bay in my mind, and I knew that I had heard of Serapis. Like, in passing, I remember that I had heard that name before. I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but I knew I remembered that name before. But specifically the Bay part, I was like, why would he be Serapis Bay? What does Bay have to do with it? I'm not talking about B-A-E. I'm talking about B-E-Y. Bay. So I'm going to read a little bit about Serapis Bay, and then I'm going to go ahead and get myself on up out of here because I got to get the rest of my day started. Okay, so Serapis Bay, or Serapis, I think it's Serapis. That's how I say it. So I think it's Serapis. Okay, because I'm always right. I'm playing. That they always say that. They're like, Capricorns always think they're always right, and then I have Virgo rising, so I probably always think that I'm right. And maybe 90% of the time I am. Sometimes written as Serapis, is regarded in Theosophy. Oh, is that the H.P. Blavatsky situation? Interesting. Oh, look, and she's got an Ouroboros on here with the swastika. Very interesting. That's a whole nother topic of conversation, because Germany and the Aryans and, like, their prophet born from a lotus and Maitreya. That's a whole nother. 133. That's my lottery number. Okay. As one of the I was about to say Masons now. Hold on a second now, because I was about to say one of the Masons. One of the masters of the ancient wisdom. And in the Ascendant Master teachings is considered to be an Ascendant Master and a member of the Great White Brotherhood. Interesting. He is regarded as a Chohan of the fourth ray. A Chohan is a lord. C.W. Leadbeater wrote that Henry Still Olcott was given occult training by Serapis Bay. Really? When his own master, Moria, was unavailable. Fascinating. So I know Henry Still Olcott is connected to H.P. Blavatsky. And I'm going to get into the last part of the dream that I forgot to mention. I'm going to get into that in a second. Okay, so a series of letters to Olcott alleged to be from Serapis, encouraging Olcott to support Blavatsky in the founding of the Theosophical Society, were published in the book The Letters from the Masters of the Wisdom. Interesting. Yeah, let's talk about what's his incarnations. It is thought that Serapis Bay was incarnated as a high priest in one of the temples of the sacred fire on Atlantis, who migrated to Asia. Who migrated to Egypt. I don't know how I got Asia from Egypt, child. Okay, Egypt at the time of the destruction of Atlantis. I might be giving away secrets right now, okay? It is also believed that he was incarnated as Egyptian pharaoh Amenhotep III. Interesting. Who constructed the temple of Luxor. And I just said it wasn't Luxor, it was Lux. Something that was just making a specification. I was like, this is connected to Lux, not Luxor. So I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this because I forgot why I said that, but someone had commented and their name was King Lux, and I was like, oh, Lux is ancient. Was that the city of Bethlehem that Joshua had the vision that he overtook, and they turned it into Bethlehem, but it was Luz, L-U-Z. That's what they say, that it's L-U-Z, Luz. But I don't remember it being Luz. I remember it being Lux, L-U-X, and not Luxor in Egypt, but Lux. So we got to talk about that. Yeah. Temple of Luxor to the god Amun. See, that's what I'm talking about. Because that guy was like Amun's brother. And I'm like, Amun does have a brother. He has a brother now. What? And also Leonidas, the king of Sparta. What? You better get out of here. Do you know that I promise you, I am not someone that likes gore and violence. I will turn it off. I don't care if it's a movie, whatever. I'm way too sensitive. And I've been on a movie set once, maybe twice with Ray. We played extras in Daddy's home, and stuff like that. And I know that it's fake. I do. But energetically, I cannot shake it. But Leonidas and 300 was something that it was a masterpiece to me. It was a masterpiece. I loved it. I loved it. I didn't love the storyline and stuff like that, but there was some type of remembrance there for me. So that's interesting. That's connected to Leonidas. Against Xerxes. Okay. Roman King Numa. Interesting, because there's an old landmass named Nuna where they get pink diamonds from, and I'm definitely trying to manifest a pink diamond. And he is referred in the book Super Mundane as the Thinker. You better stop lying. What? Okay, so anyways, you know that Serapis in ancient Egypt was a mashup of, I think, the Opus Bowl and someone, child. I don't know, child. Let me just, okay. It was okay, let's just talk about that. Okay. The Greco-Egyptian god, he was, Osiris and Apis. Serapis was extensively popularized in the 3rd century BC on the orders of the great pharaoh Ptolemy the First. So yeah, it's 1:43. I love you too, universe. Every time I see 1:43, I tell the universe that I love it. So yeah, the last part of this little dream shindig, and I'm not sure how all of this is connected back to Bart, honestly, or Mortimer, to be honest, but I'm sure it's got to be connected. It's got to be connected. I'm not sure how, but anyways, so the last part of it, I remember when he was handing me this thing, and I was like, oh, is this one mine? I don't know what made me ask, but I was like, is this your true form? Because it's giving something else. You know? And I really practice just being myself in life so that when I'm interacting on the astrals or just with spirits in general, even in this life and stuff, that, that I'm myself, so that I can really get answers. Because sometimes there's a way that we respond to people based on their role or their position, and it can have you kind of stifle how you usually interact, and so then I don't know, you don't interact the same. So I really was Mr. Serapis Bay and all that kind of stuff, it's giving that this is not your real form. So I was like, show me your real form. Child. I'm not going to say I regretted it, because I didn't, because I'm glad I got the information. But he shifted from this Neanderthal man situation to an actual reptilian with wings. I kid you not. Like, it was like a full, and I'm saying reptilian. I know people talk about like the reptilians, but he was actually like a reptoid kind of being. Like, it wasn't quite a dinosaur, and it definitely wasn't a snake. It was something that was definitely in between, but definitely had a consciousness. Like, it was not what we would consider to be like an animal. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it wasn't an animal. It was a conscious being in the form of something between, not a snake, because that's like too far. What else would, let's say like a Komodo dragon, let's say, between a Komodo dragon and a dinosaur, okay? And he was still walking on two legs. And he definitely had like what we consider to be angelic wings. And so I remember asking him, I'm like, are you a seraphim? Is that what a seraphim is? A serpent? A winged serpent? That's what a seraphim is? And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting it now. Serapis and seraphim. It's all the same root, which is connected to serpentina, connected to there's Persephone, and then there's another way that you say her name, which was either connected to Crowley or was connected to William Shakespeare. One of them had a wife or somebody named Proserpina, something like that. Let me just look it up, y'all, because I don't have to be confused. Oh, and it's 1:47. Wow. Okay. Proserpina? Who is it's like Persephone, and it's another name for Persephone. Proserpina, something like that, y'all. Yeah, Proserpina is an ancient Roman goddess whose iconography, functions, and myths are virtually identical to those of Greek Persephone. But somebody's wife's name was a daughter of Ceres. Interesting. I was about to say Circes. Ceres. But whose wife? Somebody's wife was Proserpina. Okay, let me see. Somebody's wife called themselves that too. Somebody's wife. Hold on. Then I'm about to get out of here because we got to go get these kids soon. Okay, well, somebody's wife. I know Hades, but I'm talking about somebody. Was it? I don't think it was Shakespeare. Was it connected to Crowley? It was somebody like this. Yeah. Who was it? It's not Crowley. I'm gonna just say Shakespeare, but I don't think it was Shakespeare either. No. This is gonna make me itch. But I don't have the time to look at it right now. But when I find it, I will definitely post about it. And I see December 5th, so maybe I'll start talking about Shango in the next one. Okay, everyone, I gotta go. It's been fun Sending you lots of hugs. Shout out to you if you sat through the whole thing. Eventually, like I always say in these videos, I will be doing timestamps. Hopefully the timestamps come before that, but if not, just save it, and eventually I will go back and do timestamps. All right, my friends,